Well, hello there, Proxirius with ya, and we are having an extra bonus episode of the 100 Line Last Defense Academy. It's been some time, but I really wanted to check this short story that came with the game, thanks to a pre-ordered bonus for it. It's apparently a visual novel, like strictly just reading a short story about HIRUKO SHIZUHARA'S first battle. One thing only is kind of interesting because if you see the title, it says Former Lives of the Special Defense Unit File 3. So apparently there should be other files, probably one for each of the character of the game, but I don't know where they are. We only have this one, but hey, I'm interested. Like I said, it's just in between special episode. Hopefully, we're gonna get some interesting storytelling and maybe some hints to what's going on. But to my understanding, you can read this visual novel prior to the game or after finishing the game. Like, it shouldn't be spoilery to the main one, but it still could consider have some hints. So I'm quite curious. And plus, considering where we are right now in the main story of the 100 Line, it is quite interesting because Hiroko Shizuhara had some secrets, something she was about to reveal to us, but sadly, thanks to someone, I'm sure, she currently is MIA, so to speak. Hopefully she's gonna return and tell us whatever there is, but that being said, sit down, relax, enjoy my voice, and let's see what this first battle of HIRUKO SHIZUHARA'S is. HIRUKO Shizuhara, a girl from Tokyo residential complex, resident of Ota City, calm, elegant, the cool beauty type. Oh, we know about that. She acts the part of a model student, but secretly craves excitement. Every night she visits the complex pleasure quarter to taste all that life has to offer. You know, this introduction already fleshing out her character, because she is odd. Like, she is definitely this, like, perfect, elegant model student, like a council president kinda archetype. But yes, secretly, there is something dark about her. Like, her, like, very sadistic nature, like, want to battle the monsters no matter what. Ooh. Alright. I hope you're okay with my commentaries. Sometimes it's just something gets in my mind, and I need to talk. I need to express it in some way. But anyway, inside the complex, every day was a peaceful and safe. Nothing ever happened to upset the status quo. Beneath this vast artificial ceiling, people lived lives completely cut off from natural world and its dangers. Here you go. Ooh, I don't know how long it's gonna be, so brace yourself. But I'm already excited because we got such a tiny glimpse of, like, a residential complex. Like, what even is this? How does it work? So, hey, I'm hoping for a lot. Chapter 1. It never rained in the Tokyo residential complex, nor did it snow, nor was it ever threatened by strong winds or thunderstorms. Little wonder, for in the complex there was no sky. The whole city was encased in a giant dome. Beneath this vast artificial ceiling, people lived lives completely cut off from the natural world and its dangers. Inside the complex, every day was peaceful and safe. Nothing ever happened to upset the status quo. Natural disasters, wars, and political strife were all but unknown. Crime rates were low and quality of life was high. Yet, if happiness could be defined as lack of suffering, then the TRC was nothing short of a paradise. The people on the streets all wore smiles, and those headed off to work with contented looks on their faces, while children went to school laughing, chatting with their friends. You never saw anyone walking dejectedly with slumbered shoulders. 99.99% of the population were perfectly satisfied with their mundane, average lives here, but not everybody has the same values. There were some out there whose happiness and contentment just seemed to have passed by, though extremely few in number they did exist. This is the story of one such outlier. HIRUKO SHIZUHARA, resident of Oda City, 5.11 foot? I actually don't know these measurements. Basically she's tall, that's all I understand. Long, slick hair, cold, appraising eyes, looking out from behind rimless glasses. Straight A student, perfect attendance. She attended Otis Girls High, a good school, all things considered. Her teachers considered her a model student. Her peers called her the cool beauty type. Yes, from the outsider perspective, that's the kind of person HIRUKO SHIZUHARA was. On the inside, though, this city might as well be a sty for domesticated pigs. The truth was, HIRUKO found life in the complex unbearably dull. She found it irritating the way everyone went about their lives with such oblivious contentment. She wasn't like that. A safe, normal life did not appeal to her in the slightest. What HIRUKO wanted was excitement. She still put an act of being model citizen, of course. Like the old saying went, a wise hawk hides its talents. During the day, HIRUKO buried her contempt for her peaceful existence and acted like she loved the city. During the day. At night, she let her true nature run wild. 12 a.m. HIRUKO crept out of her house and set out into the night. She hopped on her mountain bike and cycled out of Ota towards Shinjuku. After a while, she saw a glow of neon size up ahead. She'd reached Kabukicho, a Tokyo residential complex pleasure quarter. That is interesting. A side note, so it's a real places in Tokyo. So this residential complex like completely replicated the real places. Interesting. True to its name, the complex was mostly made up of residential housing, rows and rows of drab, uniform buildings, but each ward also had a shopping district where citizens could buy all that they needed for everyday life. In the daytime, these were pleasant places to go shopping or enjoy a quiet moment to oneself. At night, they were practically unrecognizable. Drunken businessmen lunched on the roadside, housed in sleek black suit, called out to potential customers, and escorts made their way to their clubs arm in arm with their patrons. The peaceful atmosphere of the day was replaced with a raucous, uncouth racket. This was no place for a high school girl to be wandering around after dark, or so one might think. Ah, it's HIRUKO, Lady H. Everybody, here is here. The people of the night not only recognized her, but were thrilled to see her. They all began crowding around and calling out to her. Where are you gonna hang tonight, HIRUKO? Come do your host routine at our club again. Our sets have never been the same since the first time. Come join our cipher under the bridge. Hit me with your crop again, Mistress HIRUKO. It had been a year now since HIRUKO had started wandering in the nighttime streets in search of greater stimulation. Eventually, she ended up in Kabukicho and tasted a different side of life, experiencing all kinds of emotions and doing all kinds of things. One night, she put on a suit and joined the host club, setting a new record for the most money earned in a single event. Damn. Alright. Another night, she's gone to a BDSM club and delighted the subs there with her merciless whipping technique. She'd participated in She's participated in and won an underground rap battle tournament. She tagged the wall of an abandoned building, created a masterpiece in spray paint. She put on a roadside concert and worked the caricature revelers into absolute frenzy. Well, suffice it to say, she had no shortage of colorful anecdotes of her time here. The talents she hid during the day had came out in all the glory, and she practically become a ruler of the nighttime realm. Her admirers were also desperate to be around her, and yet you're in a way. Move. Hirko dismissed them all with a wave of her hand, shaking off some who had already started to cling to her. Nighttime Hirko was proud, haughty, solitary. She wasn't here to live up to anybody's expectations. At night, she lived for herself. Now then, what kind of stimulation should I seek out tonight? She glanced from storefront to storefront, club to club. Host, escort, dominatrix, rapper, graffiti artist, bodyguard, street vendor. There was so much she could do, so much she could be. There really was no shortage of exciting pastime here, or at least that was how she used to feel about it. At some point, Hirko had wandered off the main street. The tumult of the town faded into distance and silence reigned. Phew. Tired of walking, she sat on a ground rail by the side of the road and sighed. She looked up, but of course there was no stars lighting up this night, just a giant ceiling with its lights turned off. I don't know what's wrong with me entirely. Nothing I do seems to excite me anymore. Hirko had reached into her jacket, taking out a plush phone charm, and began talking to it. I used to find this part of town so stimulating, but now it all just feels tedious. I wonder why. The plushie she was speaking to was a mascot character called Entrelli. It got its name from its somewhat grotesque design, being a cute animal with its guts hanging out. It was considered to be in such a poor taste that it had caused a public outcry and had to be recalled just 3 days after it first went on sale. Hirko had happened to see plushies in store on the day it released and instantly fell in love with the adorable character. Now she took one with her everywhere she went, keeping it at her bra so they never have to be apart. Interesting. Okay, pause over here, because it definitely shows her like twisted love for like grotesque yet like cute creatures. Look at this really familiar charm of the game itself, and Danganronpa games as well, like mixing something cute with something horrifying. It's basically always in there. But it also is very interesting, like the description of this toy. You could kind of describe the invaders, the monsters of the main game like this. So apparently there was a toy like this. Interesting. Of food for thought, don't you think? I suppose I've just gotten bored of the night. She put a hand on her chest. Dum, dum, dum. Her heart was beating in steady, even rhythm. When was the last time she'd felt her pulse race? What do I really want to do? The reason Hiruko always gets so bored of everything was probably because she had yet to find her true passion. But now, how was she supposed to know what would make her happy? What could she do in a boring world like this? Hey, and Shirley, I've been having these weird thoughts lately. I wish a meteor would hit the complex and blow open a hole in the ceiling. I wish there could be a terrorist attack and all of this building would fall down like dominoes. Just childish fantasies like that. I must be dealing with a lot of pent-up frustration. Tear it all down, she thought, still looking up at where the sky would be. Destroy it, my everyday life, this tedious world, all of it. In that moment, that was what she truly wanted. She knew it would never happen though. Wishing on a star was one thing, but she couldn't even do that. There was no sky, no stars, shooting or otherwise, nothing to pin her hopes on. The night wore on in lonely silence. Eventually she decided it was about a time to call it a night and head home. She didn't want to get back too late and risk her parents discovering she'd been out on her own. Hiruko's parents were rather average people. If they found out their teenager girl had been wandering the streets at night, they'd probably both have heart attacks on the spot. She tucked it entirely back into its usual place, and was just setting off when... Oh, I thought it was someone crying actually. The quiet of the night was shattered by a series of loud sirens. This is an administrative announcement. The complex danger level has been raised to yellow alert. All citizens report to your nearest shelter until further notice. Speakers mounted on a streetlights played the familiar recorded message. Doors began opening as people came outside, most of them still in their night attire. Another alert. Feels like there's been more of them lately. Where's the nearest shelter again? Be careful on your way down, everyone. Half sleepwalking, the citizens did as they were told, lifting up manhole covers and climbing down ladders to underground shelters. Mommy, I'm sleepy. Don't yawn while you're on a ladder, you're going to fall off. Everybody remained calm throughout, adults and children alike. The security alerts were just another part of their daily life after all. An alert now. This is going to be awkward. With the very sign, Hiruko turned away from the road home and joined the line for the shelter. It went smoothly and quickly, and before long she was at the front. She gripped the cold metal of the ladder and prepared to climb down. She wasn't looking forward to this at all. The shelter orders could last anywhere from 10 minutes to several hours. During that time, she'd be stuck down there with a bunch of people she didn't know. But it wasn't as if she had much choice in the matter. When you heard the alarm, you had to go to the shelter. For everyone living in the TRC, that was just common sense, wasn't it? Wait, what are we taking shelters from anyway? Opening the manhole covers and climbing down the ladder had been a part of her life for as long as she could remember. But for some reason, in that moment, something about it felt unnatural. Not that she thought about it. Wasn't it strange for somewhere as peaceful as this to have so many security alerts? Weren't they by definition an indicator that danger was close by? Really good observation, yes. Yes, like, what is up with all of this? Constantly sirens and danger, and everyone needs to hide underground. And similarly, after danger is past, everyone just comes back to their regular life in this TRC, and nothing happened. It's only at the beginning of our main game the monsters actually breached in and wreaked havoc. But apparently it's the first time, maybe. Because, like, it's interesting that old people hiding in the ground, and maybe it helps invaders not to detect them, so they just passing by without attacking. Interesting. Danger here in the complex? Excuse me, but what is that alarm for? Hiruko paused on the ladder and looked up at the next person in line, a middle-aged woman. Oh, what is it for? It's just an alarm. It's so we know to take shelter, the lady replied, tilting her head in confusion. I know, but what are we taking shelter from? Does it mean there's some kind of threat to the complex? Doesn't that seem a little strange to you? Threat? It's only an alarm. We just have to take shelter like normal. You're not listening. I'm asking why we have to take shelter in the first place. No matter how HIRUKO tried to rephrase her question, she kept getting the same answer, and the conversation went around in circles. It was like what she was suggesting. The very idea of there being a reason for the alerts was a completely alien concept. Why are you... Why are you being so difficult? Just be a good girl and get in the shelter, the lady snapped, finally starting to run out of patience. The other people in the line weren't much better. Quit saying all this weird stuff. You're holding up the line. Did you hit your head or something? You hear the alarm, you go to a shelter. Even little kids know that. Clearly, so far as they were concerned, HIRUKO was the strange one here. None of them questioned why the alarm had sounded, or why they had to take shelter. It was an alien concept to them all. Until a moment ago, HIRUKO had been just like them. The moment the alarm sounded, her focus had automatically shifted to taking shelter, and she'd walked over to the nearest manhole cover without really thinking about it. But now she was thinking about it, and she didn't like it. Now that the lid was off, all kinds of doubt and question were bubbling to the surface. The idea put in her head, more of a conspiracy theory really, but it made a weird kind of sense. Was everyone in TRC having their thoughts suppressed somehow? Could the complex administration have conditioned them all to accept the shelter orders without questions? Really nice one. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with this. Definitely conspiracy theory, but still. Because it's like, why no one questions why we have sirens? It is weird. Especially because the announcement literally says, like, threat level, like, danger level yellow, like, wait, what does it mean? Like, we don't know. All we being set to is, hey, it's an alarm, go hide into the shelter until we're gonna tell you to get out. That's it. But if that's the case, why am I noticing that something wrong all of a sudden? A moment's thought, and she had her answer. Tonight was the night her boredom with the city and life in general had reached its peak. That feeling of being cooped up here must have shaken something loose somewhere in her mind. But her heart was beating faster now. It sounded crazy, but what if it was true? What then? What did the administration want them to take shelter so badly? Was there something going on that they didn't want people to know about? Was that why they'd ingrained the idea of take shelter when you hear the alarm into everyone's mind to keep them out of the way? Of course, that begged the question, what was the Tokyo residential complex hiding? It was obvious, wasn't it? There must be some danger out there after all. Something that went against the TRC's carefully constructed image of the peaceful place. War? Organized crime? Protests? Execution without due trial? Whatever it was, HIRUKO wished she could see it for herself. But she became aware of her heartbeat again. Her pulse was racing, as if spurring her on. She knew what her heart was trying to tell her. Then go. See what it is these alarms are being used to cover up. You might just find the ultimate source of stimulation. Before she knew it, she was on her feet and running. Hey, where are you going? There's no shelter that way. Strangers called out as she ran past. There was no stopping her now. Go on, her heart seemed to say. Find it, make it your own. HIRUKO ran full speed down the abandoned streets in search of solution to this mystery. She turned the corner, ran straight on, turned again, and arrived at the crossroads. She didn't know where she was going. She was just letting her instinct guide her. But she knew she could do it. She wouldn't let this chance get away. She'd find what she was looking for. From the Shinjuku crossroad shimmers onto a four-way intersection, and then... Oh, what? That was where she discovered the city's secret. Oh. Oh, this is intriguing already. Oh man. Oh, so you're telling me the monsters are roaming the streets during the sirens? I thought that they might be outside of the dome. Well, it's again, we have different theories of like what's going on within the story. But let's say if it is just a dome, a huge dome of TRC, you would think monsters are outside, but it seems like no. They actually living, like, they're existing inside the city as well. What is this thing? Some kind of a mascot costume? At first glance, it resembled a giant teddy bear with over 6 feet tall, but it didn't have any fur, and its skin was blue with a plasticky toy-like sheen. It had just one big eye in the middle of its oversized head. Well, one big eye cavity with 5 smaller eyes looking out of it. The bear thing began to move. It limped along on 2 legs, coming right down the street. It had to be a costume. Surely there must be someone inside. Then it turned to look at HIRUKO. The moment their eye met, she knew this was no costume, it was alive. It was an actual, genuine monster. Without warning, the creature sprang towards her. HIRUKO spun around and fled back the way she had come. With a strange high-pitched roar, the monster gave chase. It didn't move very fast, but it had a wide enough stride that it could cover a lot of ground. It was only a matter of time before it caught up to her. She scrambled onto a high stone wall and down the other side, into a part of the complex she didn't know. There was no way that big, clumsy thing could climb up to her. She'd be safe now, or so she thought. What? There was an almighty crash as the wall was blown apart, concrete flying through the air like it was nothing more than styrofoam. The monster had smashed through practically without missing a step. What in the world is that thing? Normal strategy wasn't going to work here, but this was no time to stop and think. She just had to run. She ran into narrow alleys between buildings, throwing plastic buckets, anything else she could find at her attacker. She vaulted onto the air conditioner unit, kicked off the wall, and dived into the open window. She ran out of the door in the opposite direction, once again ferrying the narrow alley. A parked car blocked her path, but she lunged forward and performed a handspring to clean it in one swift movement. She ran up the stairs of the pedestrian bridge 2 at a time, then jumped off the handrail and into a tree. She used every kind of parkour maneuver she could think of, but through it all, the monster kept up its dogged pursuit. HIRUKO stomped and fell on the pedestrian walkway. She knew she had to get up and keep running, but her body was reaching its limit. She was breathing so heavily, her vision was starting to blur. She didn't even know where she was anymore. The monster was coming closer and closer. In a matter of seconds, it was already upon her. So this is it. This is how I die. Now that she knew the end was coming, everything seemed to move in slow motion. She saw the monster standing over her in vivid detail as it raised an arm, ready to strike. A club-like arm, with 3 sharp claws, swinging down towards her head. It would all be over soon. Open fire! The gruff voice ran out, seemingly from nowhere. Okay, I'm probably gonna be done with sound effects. Suddenly, there was a noise like a gunfire, and some kind of a liquid blood started spewing out of the monster's body. It stumbled back, howling in pain. Another round of shots followed, not allowing the things a moment to rest. Blood splattered over HIRUKO's glasses, dyeing her vision red. Somebody shooting it? Whatever was going on, this could be her chance to escape. Still unable to to her feet, she began to desperately scramble away. "Get cool, Missy. You're not gonna want to be there when this goes off." She heard the gruff voice again and saw a ball land at the monster's feet. No, not a ball. A hand grenade. HIRUKO instinctively closed her eyes and covered her ears. A moment later, a force of the explosion sent her reeling. The noise assaulted her eardrums. The burst of light was so bright she could see it through her eyelids. There was a high-pitched ringing in her ears, and everything went white. If she hadn't closed her eyes when she did, she probably could have been blinded. Whoever these people were, they clearly weren't picky about collateral damage. It seems like they managed to kill that monster though. Her eyes and ears hadn't quite recovered from the explosion yet, but the thing was dead now. She could feel it. With her life no longer in danger, she could take a moment to calm down and take stock of the situation. What even was that? An animal? Some kind of a bioweapon? And who were the men that saved her? HIRUKO waited impatiently for the world to come back into focus. After a few minutes, the glare finally faded, and she felt safe enough to open her eyes again. "Excuse me, but what are you doing?" she asked hesitantly. "Ain't it obvious? We're taking out its core. Administration won't give us our bounty if we don't bring this back." "I'm sorry, what?" Oh, I think I'm already getting much more from this story. What's going on? There were 5 rugged-looking men, all dressed in leather jackets and sunglasses. They looked like a biker gang out of an old Hollywood movie. The 5 of them were gathering around the charred remains of the bear thing, digging its body with survival knives. "Damn, why do the enemy's body have to be so tough? It's gonna blunt my knife at this rate." The enemies. So this thing had a name. And there were more out there. And these men hunted them in exchange for reward from the people in charge? Was that how it worked? Yo, okay. This is exactly my line of thought. How HIRUKO thinks is exactly how I'm thinking. So many questions. And trying to piece it together as fast as possible from all kind of hints surrounding me. What is going on? Is this how it works? HIRUKO peppered the men with questions. What were the enemies? Where did they come from? Why was their existence being kept secret? But the men ignored her. They just went on covering up the enemy's body and eventually pulled out a glittering metallic lump from inside of it. "Listen, Missy," one of them said, "you want to stay alive, you best forget about all about what you saw here today. Next time you hear an alarm, just head on the ground like everyone else." With that, they went on their way. HIRUKO was in no position to stop them. All she could do was watch them go. Their refusal to tell her anything was probably a kindness in a way. In their eyes, she was just a normal girl who'd gotten a glimpse of a hidden world. They wanted to spare her from learning too much about it and its dangers. She understood that, and yet, there's no way I could ever forget that. She'd had an encounter with the unknown. She'd run with all her might, her very life at stake. She'd experienced the thrill of coming face to face with death. She really had found an ultimate source of stimulation and excitement. Forget all about it? That wasn't going to happen. She could never go back to living a normal life now. Ba-dum. Her heart was racing like never before. I think I finally found a place where I can belong. From that day on, HIRUKO devoted herself to fighting the strange enemies that threatened the complex. Before she could even begin fighting, she needed information between the connections she'd formed at Kabukicho and the money she earned as a host at one time. One time is enough. Alright. It didn't take long for her to find what she needed. They're enemies, yeah. That's what they call the creatures that show up to wreck stuff every now and then. and an informant told her, dumbing through the stack of bills HIRUKO had gave him. But there's different types, you know, like a dog is a dog, but different breeds are still a thing. Sounds like the ones you ran into was a grizzly. A grizzly? She had thought it looked like a teddy bear at first. Apparently it was a type that relied on brute strength, using its powerful arms to mow down anything in its path. HIRUKO cleared her throat and clenched her fists. Now that she knew its name, her goal had become that much clearer. She would find a grizzly and kill it. The administration wants everyone to think the complex is all safe and peaceful. That's why they don't tell regular folks about the enemies. They use subliminal messages to keep people nice and compliant. When you hear the alarm, you have to go to a shelter. Don't ask questions, everything fine, just go in the shelter, that kind of thing. The Bruno went on to tell her how the complex had been handling the situation. Whenever the strange creatures attacked, a security alert would go off in that ward. Once the citizens were safely out of the way, the enemies were dispatched. Officially, it was the elite army troops who took care of this matter, but the Tier C's standing army was too small to deal with all the attacks that occurred around the city. Guess that's why they put the bounties out, he said with a shrug. To help cover their insufficient manpower, the administration allowed weapons to find their way to certain citizens, offering cash rewards to entice them to fight in the good fight. That was what those men HIRUKO had encountered before were bounty hunters. As to what kind of people the bounty hunters are, well, outcasts and misfits mostly, kinda like you, HIRUKO, folks who can't stand their peaceful life here, folks that want a taste of danger. With people like that, one day the conditioning just sort of comes undone. From there, it's only a matter of time until they run into the enemies. The war against these creatures had been going on for centuries, but no one seemed to know what they are. Were they natural, artificial, supernatural? Nobody could say for sure. Does the complex administration really not know? HIRUKO asked. Somehow I find that hard to believe. Ain't a lot that goes on here those guys don't know about, the informant replied. Wouldn't surprise me if they were hiding that too. He craned his neck toward Minato City, where even from here in Shinjuku, the Tokyo Tower could be seen rising above the rooftops. As the highest point in the complex, the top floor of the tower was where the administration had its headquarters, looking down on their domain, or so the rumors went. Ooh, this reminds me of something. Alright. I thought this place was peaceful, but there's a lot going on under the surface. Well, HIRUKO didn't really care about what the people in charge did or why. She just wanted to fight the enemies and live an exciting, extraordinary life. Nothing more, nothing less. Now that she'd learned all she could from secondary sources, HIRUKO moved on to observing the enemies firsthand. When the alarms rang, she would head out in search of her quarry, watching them through high-powered binoculars. Just as the informant had told her, the enemies came in all shapes and sizes. There were pudgy little ones about a foot and a half tall, alien-looking ones with tentacle arms, ones specialized in range attacks, more varieties than you could count on your fingers. At any rate, she decided to focus on the grizzlies for now. So far as she was concerned, that type was the enemy. As a type that had made her feel so powerless before, it was now a target of her revenge. Whenever she discarded one, she carefully took note of its proportions. With the help of some high-tech measuring instruments, a clear picture started to emerge. Height 6.7, reach 8.2, leg length 1.8. Those were the averages HIRUKO managed to work out after absorbing several specimens. Evidently, there was still room for individual differences, even among the same enemy type. With those that's actually interesting. So even the same type of enemy still has some differences in this, which kind of begs the question if they are artificial. If they were artificial, they would probably be like exactly the same. But if there's small differences, there's like it like gives off some kind of a individuality to them. With those basics covered, she moved on observing Grizzly's behavior. Over the next 2 months, she made several key discoveries. Grizzlies were highly aggressive towards humans. When they saw a person, they became agitated and chased after them. Swiping with their massive arms was their only method of attack. They couldn't kick or headbutt, and were never seen to use weapons. Their intelligence was limited, probably on the same level as an actual bear. Hey, come on, this is insulting to bears, I think. They knew how to avoid friendly fire with the other monsters, but otherwise acted on instinct rather than strategy. Now she could only find a weak point. She tried watching the bounty hunters' attacks on the grizzlies, assuming they would aim at vital spots wherever possible. Unfortunately, this attempt failed to turn up anything useful. All the enemies, regardless of type, seemed to possess a kind of uniform sturdiness across their entire bodies, but that didn't mean they were invincible. They also shaped a uniform weakness. Considering gunfire at close range could tear open their skin and make them bleed. Once they lost enough blood, they would weaken drastically, to the point that gun could then cause critical damage. Background info, check. Anatomy and behavior, check. Weakness, check. It is time to get into gory details. How did she kill them? Fortunately, somebody had already figured that out for her, the bounty hunters. She just needed to watch them at their work and take their knowledge for herself. There seemed to be just one way for weak, frail human beings to defeat these monsters. Surround them and attack all at once. When faced with several opponents, the creatures seemed to have trouble deciding who to go after first, resulting in a fatal delay in their actions. The hunter used that opportunity to riddle their target with bullets, making every injury, every drop of blood spilled count. Finally, when it was sufficiently weakened, they finished it off with a grenade. There were variations on this strategy, of course, but it all boiled down to the same thing. It was a little like hunting or fishing as a group. That was by far the safest, most consistent way to kill the enemies. However, no, I have to do this myself. HIRUKO had no intention of joining somebody else's team. Just thinking about all that teamwork and camaraderie with others made her sick. If she couldn't strike out on her own, then what was even the point of breaking away from normal society? Damn. What is wrong with her? Even here. But you know what? If there is a chance she actually gonna return to us in the main game, maybe she's gonna be more willing to do some teamwork and camaraderie together. She thought hard. Was there a way for her to kill the enemies all on her own? The slings would charge viciously at her without any hesitation. Could she deal damage without taking it herself? Maybe I can try a hit-and-run strategy, like an outboxer. Her mind went to Muhammad Ali, one of the boxing greats of the 20th century. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Could she do that? Use fancy footwork to keep the enemy at a distance, getting hits a little at a time and to wear down, then move in for a final blow. In theory, that should make it possible for her to fight and win alone. In that case, I'd rather stick to lightweight weapons. Loading herself up with a lot of firearms would only slow her down. She needed speed, maneuverability. A small caliber handgun, perhaps? No, that wouldn't work. The other bounty hunters all used big guns that took 2 hands to wield. he would have doubted a hangout could deal enough damage in a short enough time to achieve the proper results. But using a shotgun or machine gun while also dodging attacks wasn't likely to end well for her either. She'd need to think of something else. I just need to break through the skin and make them bleed. Thinking about it like that, some kind of blade might be a better choice. A blade. The word seemed to jog something loose in HIRUKO's imagination. In her mind's eye, she saw herself wielding an axe, swinging it out to cleave her opponent's clean in two. Oh, how interesting. Her mind's eye, like in her imagination, she actually thought about a weapon she gonna use in the future by using hemo-anima powers. Suspicious. Performing an execution with an axe. Not a bad idea. She had read the axes were executioner's tool of choice in medieval Europe. Maybe her desire to kill enemies combined with that knowledge was what had conjured up that image. Swinging around a double-handed battle axe was out of the question, but something smaller, something she could hold in one hand, that just might work. She could even strap it to one of her legs and use her skirt to hide it from view. Yes, an axe. That was what she used. Now that she'd made her choice, HIRUKO went to a hardware store and purchased a hand axe. Wait. Well, I guess you can do that? Just a student, just a girl coming in the hardware store and like, please sell me a hand axe. Alright. It's for the school project. Yes. She took it to a swordsmith in Kabukicho and had the blade sharpened, sharp enough to cut through tough hides of the enemies. Once she had her equipment ready, she needed to learn how to use it. She adopted an abandoned Kabukicho warehouse as her training grounds, and went there to practice every day. Her first order of business were practice swings. She swung an axe over and over again to get used to the feeling. Yeah! She started to get better feel of its weight, and the best way to handle it. Here! She moved on from regular swinging to aiming at targets, increasing her control and precision further. Through trial and error, she found her ideal grip, her ideal stance, her ideal swing. HIRUKO had never learned any kind of martial arts, but she seemed to have an instinctive knack for wielding the axe. It hadn't even been 2 months she started training, and it already felt like an extension of her body, which is also an interesting point. Like, something is not right here. How did she master it so quickly? Like, we making sure, like, the story tells us she's never practiced any kind of martial arts, and yet she's good at everything. Almost like artificially, if you think about it, right? But there was a difference between just swinging the axe around and actually cutting something with it. She hung sheets of cloth from the warehouse ceiling. They were nowhere near as tough as the enemy's skin, but they do for now. There was more to cutting something than simply hitting the target. The angle of the blade, the wind up and follow up through, the strength of the swing itself. Only once she got all that right did the axe slide silently through the cloth, leaving a smooth, satisfying cut behind. I see, so this is how it feels, HIRUKO thought to herself, looking at the blade and smiling. She was already imagining herself slicing through enemies with the same merciless precision. In addition to her basic training, she also did a kind of shadowboxing, envisioning different scenarios and practicing how to respond to each one. Naturally, the opponent she always imagined was a grizzly. She'd get around to the other enemy types eventually, but she needed to get her revenge on that one first. If it moved like this, she dodged into the right. If it did that, she'd sidestep like this. You can imagine countless possibilities and drill the moves into her muscle memory. Letting out battle cry after battle cry, she faced down the imaginary enemies. She saw their attacks coming and moved to dodge and counter. In her mind, the Grizzlies killed her, rending her body apart with the claws, smashing her skull with their heavy paws. But each death, each failure was an opportunity to learn. Little by little, she was getting better. This kind of mirrors our experience, right? And strangely, with each simulated battle, win or lose, her feelings for the enemy started to change. Her hatred was being replaced with a sense of gratitude. If she hadn't run into that first grizzly, she'd still be living a typical Tokyo residential complex life, bored out of her mind. That bizarre creature had been her guide to a whole new world. Thank you for showing me there was so much more out there, Hiruko thought as she swung her axe. But if the grizzly was a guide, it was also a gatekeeper. Killing one for herself would open the door to even more new experiences. More unbelievable sights, more dizzying heights and crushing lows, more excitement, more stimulation. Finally, she finished her 6th month of training. Her special that took less time than I thought it would. Her special anti-grizzly training course was complete. I think I'm ready now, don't you, Aunt Crowley? Hiruko said, addressing her phone-strapped plushie. The day when she got to take down her prey couldn't come soon enough. She stood there, alone in the empty warehouse, an obscene smile on her face. Dum dum dum. Her heart, once so hungry for stimulation, was beating with the ferocity of the wild beast. Late one night, the security alarms blared out across Oda City. Regular citizens stirred from their beds and went out into the streets, opening manhole covers and climbing down to the shelters. Hiruko, meanwhile, broke away from the crowd and sprinted through the desolate streets. Where were they? Where were the enemies? More importantly, was the grizzly among them? Don't tease me like this, Grizzly. Hurry up and show yourself. Her heart fluttering like a love-struck girl on the way to her first date. She ran on, ignoring any other enemies, until I knew it. As if guided by fate, she found herself close to the one of the blue, bear-like enemies. It was wandering around the shopping district, probably in search of prey. Hiruko ducked into a side alley for a moment to get her breathing under control. She took out her handkerchief to wipe the sweat from her brow and ran a comb through her hair. She wanted this creature to see her at her best. Here we go. It's finally time to do this. The last time she encountered one of these things, all she could do was run away. She'd been nothing but a weak, fragile, normal girl then, but not anymore. Through her training, she'd built herself up from scratch into a completely new person. It was no mere revenge match. It was a debut of the brand new her. Her first battles, Hiruko the warrior, Hiruko the executioner. Well then, let's begin. She calmly stepped out in front of the grizzly. The moment it saw her, the monster let out one of its high-pitched wails and began to charge. In a few seconds, it was right on top of her. It swung one of its massive claws at her face. Too slow. She simply stepped out of the way. The thing's arm flayed harmlessly through the air. It attacked again and again, unleashing a series of vicious slashes, all of which failed to hit their target. Hiruko had done her homework. The grizzly's attack range was 9 feet 10 inches. So long as she stayed at least 9 feet 11 inches away from it, it would be unable to reach her. She remained calm and kept perfect track of the distance between them. The grizzly swung at her. She retreated 9 feet 11 inches. It swung again. She retreated another 9 feet 11 inches. So far so good. This is just like how I rehearsed it. Tasting the fruit of her labor in action, she felt the corners of her mouth turn into Oh, smile. Those claws had seemed so deadly before, but now they were no more threat to her than cat toys. They were nothing to be afraid of. They were never going to hit her. But she couldn't keep dodging all night. She had to go on the offensive too. She waited for a gap between swipes and then... Now! The Grizzly's right arms went forward and HIRUKO charged in. She avoided the claws and passed by a monster's right flank. Now behind it, she turned around and unleashed the slashes with her axe. A large gash opened up in the enemy's back, and a spray of red liquid erupted into the air. It gave an angry roar and began flailing its arms like a child throwing a tantrum. HIRUKO was already out at its attack range. She saw every attack coming and dodged them easily. What's the matter? Do you have to thrash around quite so violently? Speaking to the thing in mock kindness, she continued to carve it into its body. She cut its back, its arms, its legs, its face. Did you feel that one? How about that? Does it hurt? The creature's blue body was being stained redder and redder. Aw, why are you crying? You know that's not going to get me to stop. With every spot of blood, she felt a fresh surge of excitement. It hurts, doesn't it? Let me hear those cries of pain. Cry for me. More, more. By now, the Grizzly was covered in wounds. It was blood-drenched shadow of its former self. But HIRUKO wasn't done with it yet. She kept on toying with the beast. She was having fun. More fun than she ever remembered having. More fun than she thought was even possible. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Her heart was beating like a drum. Ba-dum. Finally, her pulse and her excitement were reaching their peak. You're finished! She used the underarm swing to plunge her axe into Monster's abdomen and brought it up in its one smooth vertical movement. The monster let out the wordless death rattle as one last spray of blood burst out of its body. Now completely powerless, it tottered back in its feet. Boom, and fell back into the cold, hard ground, motionless, dead. Execution complete. HIRUKO silently muttered to herself, tossing her axe down so the blade stuck in the asphalt. Her first battle had been a resounding success, and yet pleasant memories associated with her previous encounter had been thoroughly overwritten. Thank you. I had fun today. Even when the battle was over, HIRUKO stayed by the Grizzly's side. She knelt next to its corpse and offered some words of heartfelt gratitude. And thank you. Thanks to you, I was able to break free from my old life. She patted the monster's head as if she were reluctant to leave it. The more she patted it, the more affection she seemed to feel. Her hand wandered down to its cheek, its neck, its arms, its claws, and then... Oh my! Now this is pretty. She thrust her hand into a gash in its stomach and gently caressed its innards. Look, enthrally, a new friend for you. HIRUKO said, taking out her plushie and showing it what she's done. Her axe attack had opened Grizzly's right up, revealing a gruesome assortment of blood and guts, including several internal organs, blue like its skin. Slush, slush. She ran her hand tenderly over each and every one, revealing in a way that felt beneath her fingers. While she was doing that, she realized something. I finally did it. I found the one irregular thing to give my life meaning. She really couldn't go back to being a normal girl now. Even if she could, she wouldn't. HIRUKO promised herself that she'd do this again. She would keep fighting. Her fingers closed around what must have been a Grizzly's heart. She yanked it out and held it aloft, still slick with warm, sticky blood. The heart glinted in the glare from the streetlights like a beautiful shining star. Looking up at it, HIRUKO thought back on the battle she'd just fought. That was so much fun. A battle to the death, lasting only a few short minutes, but with both combatants risking everything they had. The memory it gave her chills. Surely could be no other experience quite as stimulating as this. Ba-dum. More. She needed more of this. Once just wasn't enough. She had to face off against these enemies again. That was all she wanted now. I'd better make a wish. She got on her feet and threw Grizzly's heart into the air. It was closest thing to a star she was ever going to see her here in the complex. As the heart moved through the air like a gory comet, she gave a voice to her innermost desire. I want to keep fighting. I want to live a life full of excitement. Hiruko's wish would be granted. The enemies would attack again, and she would fight them, experiencing more battles and chalking up more victories, and eventually... Hiruko Shizuhara, congratulations! You have been chosen. She would get all the excitement she could handle when a peculiar robot recruited her into his unit and sent her to a strange school. But that is a story for another time. Roll the credits, the end. Damn. Alright. That was a nice read. A bit shorter than I expected, but it's interesting, and we definitely got more glimpse into TRC, the Tokyo Residential Complex, which is quite interesting. I really wonder, like, we're gonna continue the playthrough of the main game, and I wonder if anything like this is gonna come out. Probably. But I'm also very interested in what exactly Hiruko wanted to tell us while what she promised us at the pool at luxury room, or I don't know what the room called, relaxation room. But anyway, that's really interesting. So it's definitely, yeah, like the citizens kind of brainwashed into just following the orders to hide in the shelters during the sirens. And the monsters, the invaders, are actually roaming the streets for free. Like, it's not like they invading. It seems like they just, it's like swapping. It's like there's time for people to use Tier C and live there, and then they swap out to monsters who roam around for some time, trying to find some prey, and then they disappear. That is quite interesting. And we now know there is definitely administration in TRC. We don't know who they are, and even if they do exist, like, it's just some kind of a faceless leaders of this place. Quite interesting. And we even have bounty hunters, people who actually broke from like the tedious always repeating life and like seeing truth more clearly, like staying during the emergency, actually seeing monsters and fighting them and earning this is very important, earning money from it as well. So whoever this administration is, they are paying money to get rid of the monsters and also collect their hearts. Ooh, interesting. What is up with their hearts? There's definitely some kind of a theme about the blood. Something about it, like the blood as a vessel which pumps the blood used for us to transform. These monsters actually have like innards, like they are like living creatures similarly. Plus there are differences, like small differences even between the same types. All of this is kind of intriguing. Like, what's going on here? Who are they actually? And now she was recruited by Seirei to join the Last Defense Academy. Interesting. The last thing that I want to think about, like, what's up with the other characters and what Shoma had remembered in the main story that they all were in the Kumokura hospital in a special pods. I wonder. Man, so many mysteries, so many mysteries. But at least I got some information from this story. Funnily enough, it feels like I got more answers from this story than the game itself. At least from where I am currently are. Insert the bookmark? Yes, insert, even though I absolutely finished reading this. Damn. We have Afterward, I think. Story written by Kyohei Oyama. Oh, and we have a message from him. Let's actually read what the writers and developers saying. Kyohei Oyama. Many players have been wondering why is HIRUKO so strong right from the start of the game. Good question, and it's actually very interesting. So it seems like she... We actually got an answer. That's right. Let me say it. What we just discovered. She had practice. She fought those monsters for much longer time than any other people in the Last Defense Academy. But, important note, this story revealed that she hadn't had any superpowers. She was just a bounty hunter. She was just a regular citizen who was actually hunting down monsters. Like, we actually learned quite a bit from this. We know about bounty hunters, about administration, about monsters just appearing inside of the TRC for no reason, a little bit about their behavior, and where did HIRUKO learn how to fight. And it seems like she only gonna get power only after Sirei recruited her. Interesting. And her choice of weapon is a giant two-bladed axe for executions. Impressive. The short novel sets out to answer the question and fleshed out the character's backstory. We see her frustration with her normal life in a Tokyo residential complex and how this leads her to seek out hidden truths, along with the power to strive in a much harsher environment. For those of you who are curious, it should give you a better idea of what HIRUKO is all about. Whether you're just starting the game or already completed it, I hope you enjoyed this deeper glimpse into the world of the 100-line Last Defense Academy. Yeah, personally, I did enjoy that. Thank you very much. Although I have one gripe about this. It seems you can only get this short story, only if you pre-ordered the game. There's no other opportunity to get this officially, seemingly. So, weird. Ooh, Kazutaka Kodaka. Oh my god, is that... I don't remember their names. Is this the creator of Danganronpa, or is it the creator of Zero Escape? Sadly, I'm so bad with names, I don't remember which is which. But I recognize the name itself. Okay, what is he saying? In the game, we see what life in the Tokyo residential complex is like from the point of view of the main character, Takumi Sumino. But what about other members of the Special Defense Unit? We decided to provide a prequel story showing a different perspective through the eyes of HIRUKO Shizuhara. Her life contains some pretty impactful episodes, which have greater consequences later down the line. You may find yourself drawing connection with this short novel story as you progress through the game. It's also a fun read if you already finished the game and are looking for a little something extra. Oh no, you know what? I'm really happy that I read it right now. I didn't read it before starting the game. I read it only when HIRUKO actually disappeared. When she actually shared that she knows something, we just don't know what. I think I chose perfect opportunity to read this short story. It definitely gave me much more food for thought. Yeah, alright. Ooh, and now I'm even more excited to come back to the game itself and see what's gonna be going on there. And I kinda hope HIRUKO is alive and gonna return to us sooner or later, because then we're gonna start connecting the dots. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this extra bonus episode of us reading a special short story about HIRUKO Shizuhara's first battle. This is gonna be it. We're gonna be next time continuing the playthrough of the 100 line Blast Defense Academy, and then meanwhile, don't forget to follow my Twitch channel, Proxiverse Official. I'm streaming almost every day variety of video games, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel by the same name, where I am uploading all of my playthroughs gradually throughout the days, and there's sometimes some random stuff like reactions to openings or video game trailers. If you have any recommendations that you think might interest me, hey, leave them in the comment sections, which I always am reading. And thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, bye bye.